Hey everyone, welcome to Insights IAS initiative. Today there was a small delay in the recording because of some technical issues. So from tomorrow onwards, it would be coming in the morning time itself. So the first topic we are going to discuss is about a topic that is hidden in this article. It was an editorial from Down to Earth magazine. So Buried Alive, how COVID took over a remote city in the Amazon. So in this, there was a broader concept that was discussed called polycrisis. So polycrisis, this idea and this word would be very relevant in multiple GS papers of our answer sheet. So here polycrisis in Iquitos. So Iquitos is the name of the place that is in Peru. So the situation here during COVID was extremely bad because despite the city being closed down under lockdown model, many residents here were not following the regulations. What is the reason? The reason is that lack of economic security. That is, as the livelihood opportunities completely shut down during lockdowns, people didn't have the wage availability so that they can meet their both end meet. So if they had to have a food in a particular day, they had to go out and work. So this opportunity was not existing during lockdown, because of which many people came out in search of work so that they can have that day's meal properly. So because of in failure of lockdowns, this COVID virus spread rapidly among the people here, and added to this was the burden of oxygen shortage in the hospitals, because quite long ago health sector was privatized in Peru, and oxygen cylinders were highly in shortage when this large scale COVID impacted the population. And added to this, there was also the question of insecurity of economic sorts, which just mixed with the diseases and oxygen burden. So as a result, at the end of the pandemic, many people in the place had lost their life, for which there were multiple reasons. If COVID was the main cause of death here, the hidden reasons that were less exposed is the economic insecurity, which forced people to venture out even during the dangerous time, coupled with the problem of shortage of oxygen. So this model is an example of how there are many challenges that are present in the world where you cannot address one by putting them into watertight compartments. Let's say if we even worked on reducing COVID pandemic in the place, the economic inequality and insecurity would still be high, and briefing up hospitals and making sure that the supplies are already in time, that also needs to be worked out, so that in future if a pandemic comes, this issue will be solved. So any issue that is very much pressing in the present days, they are not isolated incidents but are a part of an interconnected whole. So that is what we call polycrisis now. Okay, so polycrisis, it's a kind of situation. You can take down the definition of it. It's a situation where multiple crises occur simultaneously, and it is very difficult to make national strategies and international cooperations very difficult to work out. So if you take the example of India here, polycrisis has led to challenges in education sector, we can say. It has led to displacement of human population. It is also giving birth to malnutrition as an idea, then also related to economic strain on various sections of the society. So how this is related, if you take up education as a topic here, education sectors in India has multiple stakeholders. It needs finance allocation from the government. It needs an active role of the private entities. It needs the citizen activism, where parents who send the kids to the school question the particular rationality of a syllabus or a topic. And everything ends up with the teachers as well, whose curriculum and whose pedagogy needs to be verified. So multiple aspects are associated with education. And again, if you're trying to give just more money and don't focus on all of them, it is not easy to regulate this. At the same time, because of malnourishment, educational outcomes are very much less in many of the poorer areas of the country, because better nourishment helps in better brain development, and further education absorption will be better. But malnutrition education also feed into a loop here, and when we combine it with displacement, where many tribal populations and even other areas are displaced due to developmental projects, and education and malnourishment have been impacted due to this displacement as well, ultimately leading to a burden on economic conditions of the public. So this whole idea of polycrisis is very much useful when we talk about this in questions like climate change, when we mention its usage in our paper 3 and even in GS paper 2 governance aspect. So we'll just try to verify how this concept can be used in various answers. So let's say if you get a question, or if we are talking about essay relevance of this topic, in cases of essay, let's say you get a question on global crisis, or you get a question on the future disease called X that WHO is actually preparing for, or if you talk about the various wars that are simultaneously going on in the world, the idea of polycrisis will point to the fact that all these are nothing but an interconnected whole, and none of them can operate just individually. So to signify this interconnectedness, the idea of polycrisis will be a very good terminology and a phrase in your answers. So when you talk about GS paper 1, we have the usage of polycrisis in the topic of society here, because we can talk about what are the social implications of polycrisis. So if you talk about the question of urban migration, so what are the various factors, or why urban migration can also be rightly called as polycrisis? So if you go back, urban migration starts with agrarian distress. Then this is also a reason because of lack of economic, or let's say financial alternatives for farmers, also coupled with lack of employment occupations within the villages. So when all of this just gets combined, the idea of urban migration becoming a polycrisis will be a reality. So in paper 1 Indian society topic, this is an example related to urban migration. We can also link it to rising inequality in the society, social, economic and political inequality. These also would be relevant under polycrisis topic. So when it comes to GS paper 1, again under the category of geography, we can talk about how resource scarcity as a problem is interconnected with the concept of climate change. So resource allocation and scarcity, distribution of resources comes under paper 1. Let's say in places like the third peak like Himalayas, we are seeing that glacial melt has become a major issue, and of late glacial lake outburst floods have become quite common. So the difference between the relation between resource scarcity and climate change and the induced disasters can be rightly pointed out when we are talking about GS paper 1 under geography. So again in GS paper 2, if we are talking about in governance, okay, in governance topic, we can discuss about the idea of polycrisis in the way that many of the policies that the government makes, especially when we are implementing it, when we make rules and bylaws for a particular legislation, we need to keep in mind that there are many issues that are interconnected and they need to be analyzed from the polycrisis viewpoint. So in such cases, let's say you're talking about disaster management and want to work on urban flooding, for example, governance under urban flooding. So how would you tackle urban flooding? It has the ideas of wasteland or lake encroachment. It has the problem of real estate boom. It has the issue of corruption that needs to be dealt with. So when a governance or when the policy making is coming into question for any ideas like this, we need to consider it to be a polycrisis which is fed by multiple issues that are going on. So with this way, GS paper 2, it would be relevant. And when it comes to paper 3 as well, this topic is specifically relevant in conservation, ecology and environment issue. So in conservation purpose, how polycrisis, like rising temperatures, it is leading to drought having an impact on agriculture's impact is resulting into migration, which is nothing but a social impact. So for GS paper 3 conservation issue as well, this topic is relevant. At the same time, we can also talk about economic or Indian economy aspect where polycrisis would be relevant. We can talk about multiple crises like inflation, we can say fiscal deficit, balance of payment or current account deficit. All of them add to a great and negative impact on the GDP of a country. Or we can also take unemployment as an issue here. So what all factors come here? Education system, we can talk about corruption related to unemployment, we can talk about faulty budgets and practices, or let's say lack of sound economic decisions. So unemployment also has to do with skill development. So multiple options and multiple dimensions need to be worked here. So in paper 3 topic of unemployment as well, using polycrisis would be better. So in paper 4, again this would be very relevant whenever you are getting a case study, especially in the second half of your ethics paper. In the case studies, a particular case study asks you to verify multiple topics before making any decision process. So you can quote the term polycrisis and tell that this particular situation is nothing but a polycrisis where we are having multiple stakeholders involved here. So what would be the right course of action would be easy to determine when you identify that it is a polycrisis. So remember to use this term in your case studies of paper 4. So this is how this topic could be relevant for our GS papers. Now moving on to the next topic. So the second topic is about ethics of AI. So we have discussed this topic quite many times in our initiative, but there were some unique points that were covered in this article of LiveMint. So you can add it on to the notion of AI and ethics wherever you have noted down. This would kind of be a continuation of the same topic. So author here is telling about 4 new changes that artificial intelligence is going to bring in the year 2025, and somewhere moving around ethics and literacy topic. Okay, so the first one is chat is the new search. That is, in the present context, if you want to search something, usually people would rely on Google as a search engine. So what would be the outcome? If you are searching some topics related to current affairs for UPSC, you will get many website suggestions from which you have to pick and choose. So the one that is modulated better, the one that is paying better terms for Google using other technical aspects here, they will be given high preference irrespective of the quality. So we might get the best article in this, but this engine would be coming first for multiple reasons. Hence, this whole process of Google here is not just biased, but also is based on many other parameters other than the what information you want. So you will have to fish out from multiple websites about one particular topic, make notes out of it, or take a printout or copy paste it into a document, then organize them as per your requirement. So though Google and internet have made things easier compared to surfing books in multiple racks, organizing is where we were trying to spend a lot of time. But now using the AI tools, chatting is the new information. Chatting with AI tools is going to give you customized information, that is based on the prompt or command that you give it, it gives you the outcome that you are looking for. So this has made life easier and probably kind of reduce the creativity of human beings. At the same time, over reliance on AI tools for workplace is something that is going to happen in the coming year, is the idea that was discussed as a part of the first point. The second is AI plus human as the new human beings. So as of now, human beings are called Homo sapiens. So sapiens, from sapiens, the next sequence would be deus. So Homo deus is going to be an extraordinary human who will be a combination of artificial intelligence and human intelligence. So the author tells that they might be having godlike powers to create and change things. using AI tools. So this is the second idea where they talk about Homo Deus being a godlike entity. So it is nothing but killing the individuality of a person. So the uniqueness would probably be vanishing if AI tools try to integrate with human beings. And the best example for this is Neuralink as an example where the brain functioning is done using AI tools to give work to those parts of the body that are not working. So Neuralink is just an example of the future Homo Deus that the author was discussing here. So remember the concept, AI plus human is a new human being now taking part in the evolution process. So the third one is ethics as the new imperative. That is, the whole year 2023 where people were busy in devising many AI tools, especially after the launch of ChatGPT and others. So we've just spoke about AI tool and how it is going to be a game changer, how it's going to impact multiple sectors of the economy, society and others. But the whole world's dialogue in the 2024 year was concentrated on the ethical notions of AI. Probably this is the reason why in mains also we got a question on artificial intelligence in our GS paper 4. So the best part of this is we have started talking about it. That is, we all have realized that AI tools can never replace human intelligence, especially the emotional decisions that human beings make. AI tools will be failing in applying this based on the circumstances and the situation. So once this dialogue has started now, finally the hope is that AI tools will be controlled by human beings and not human beings being controlled by AI tools. So which has already been seen in social media's case, where social media today is controlling the activities of human beings while it should have been the other way around. So the positive imperative is that people are talking about ethics at international platforms and we are planning to regulate it. The last one is AI is the new literacy. This topic is very much relevant in GS paper 3, especially the topic of employment. So why this is relevant? Because there was a time when having an education qualification for a particular job profile included a specific degree, or let's say PhD or any graduation, post-graduation skill sets. This would be mattering. But nowadays the idea is that every individual who comes to an organization for work, they need to be experts in using AI tools. Any one of them could be used, but why this is expected from the employees or prospective employees is that they will be efficient and better in their work if they are using AI in their daily activities. So this has given birth to a very popular idea that bring your own AI. Okay, BYOAI. So it is about bringing one's own AI to the organization, where such kind of candidates who are better and who know the knowledge of, who know about how to use the tools to make their work easy, they would anytime be preferred more over the other person who has no access or no knowledge about AI tools. So this would be really relevant when you talk about rising unemployment in the country, lack of skill set. What are the skills that are needed? Using certain AI tools has become mandatory for gaining a job in a particular company. So these four were something new that we have not discussed much about. In 2025, the author tells this is going to be the ethical and literate trends of artificial intelligence. So based on the context of the question, you can use these 4 points to justify your stand about artificial intelligence. Moving on to the next topic now. So this topic called African Leaders Adopt a New Kampala Declaration and 10-year Strategy to Transform Agriculture was recently signed by the Extraordinary African Union Summit in Uganda. This was finalized on 11th of Jan and this is based on an article in Down to Earth. So the agreement that they have signed is the one that was earlier called Malabo Declaration. Now we have extended. Malabo Declaration gave birth to Comprehensive African Agriculture Development Program, right? CAADP is Comprehensive African Agriculture Development Program. It was first signed in the year 2003. Then the declaration that we just now saw, that is Malabo Declaration, it was signed in 2014. and these two were amended now, and we have the 2025 declaration, which would work between 2026 and 2035. So this will be the implementation period. So the idea is that all the members of this or African Union, they are working on a main topic that would revolutionize Africa's growth story, that is agri-food sector. So agri-food sector is very much impacted by climate change. So this is the right time when they are working on mending the issues so that the whole continent's future can be sealed with better implementation of this pact. So in the beginning, this Malabo declaration was talking about reaffirming the targets on eradicating hunger, malnutrition, all these things in addition to agri-food revolution. So once this is tackled, we can see that how it impacts the hunger, malnutrition, resilience of agriculture, and finally leading to economic prosperity as well. So the present report or the present idea in this meeting told that 20% of African population is suffering from food security challenges. So the crisis is really very bad. 58% of the population are experiencing extreme food security and hunger specifically. So this is according to Food and Agricultural Organization's report that was quoted in the meeting. And as a result, what has happened is stunting rates are extremely high. Malnutrition is a major concern even now. High mortality rates have hindered development to a great extent. So in addition to this, Africa is also facing modern world problems like obesity, then which has increased the economic burden of the whole continent as a particular. So for that reason, we are going to sign a new compact now called the Africa We Want. This is the motto of the Kampala agreement recently. So this agreement basically has four major uh, policies to be discussed. So the first one is investment in agriculture, right? This is the first area here. They have made, all the countries or member states have made a commitment to allocate at least 10% of their annual public expenditure for agri-food system, so that the resources are utilized in a better way. Second is they have spoke about climate resilient practices. So climate resilient practices like sustainable agricultural methods, especially to address or make agriculture resilient in the terms of climate change. The third one is a very important factor called regional interconnectedness. That is, the countries within the African Union, they need to increase the trade ties between themselves so that they contribute to each other's growth story successfully instead of relying on foreign exports. So by removing trade barriers and facilitating intra-Africa cultural commerce, especially agricultural commerce, they would be very much helpful, and this target to achieve this is up to 2035. Then the last one is the focus on food and nutrition. So this topic is telling about how measures would be taken to combat hunger and malnutrition across the continent. So if you want to see where this topic is relevant now, it's especially important in GS paper 2, that is global governance. So this is not a direct topic, but it's very relevant when you talk about international global governance. That is, regional initiatives like Kampala Declaration, they have a major role in strengthening the food security of the whole world, not just the African continent, and help us achieve sustainable development goals. And that is the application for paper 2. When we talk about GS paper 3, that is, we have a direct topic in our syllabus called agriculture and environment. In both this, we see that the idea of Kampala Declaration is relevant. So when we talk about agricultural development, we can compare that Kampala Declaration is talking about spending money for agriculture so that nutrition, economy, agriculture, all of them grow together. So we can take the ideas of Kampala Declaration and tell that something of similar sorts need to be done within India as well. So within the states of the country. So this could be a probable usage. And when it comes to climate change and adaptation, there is a need to emphasize on a climate resilience agriculture. We already have National Mission for Sustainable Agriculture under National Mission for Tackling Climate Change. So we can integrate the concept of Kampala Declaration here as well. So in addition to this, there was a very beautiful concept that can be linked here, that let's say there are two states here and the three states, let's say, and this area is having a common agroclimatic zone. So as agriculture is in the state subject, the policies made by one state will not be sufficient to bring back the degradation of this land here. The efforts of all the three states is needed. So just like how African Union has signed up this pact, these three states which have a common agroclimatic zone, they can work out on a plan so that the whole area, the whole climatic zone is made agriculturally prosperous, rather than narrowly focusing on one's own patch, which wouldn't be practically possible because the area is very much similar. So India also needs such commitment between the state government, and we can give this as an example in cooperative federalism of paper 2 as well, giving a suggestion that states that have a same agroclimatic region can coordinate with each other in on the lines of Kampala Declaration of Africa to further improve the quality of the land that they are commonly sharing. So it would definitely be a lot of help in regional cooperation. So with this, you can use these answers in multiple answers. Now we'll come to the next topic. The last topic would be mindful of work. So this is an article that was recently published in Economic Times, and this is not just relevant for our UPSC answer writing, it is very much relevant for UPSC preparation altogether, especially at a time when the competition is extremely high and there is no dearth of material, or you can say knowledge, that is available, and a person is always focusing on giving the uniqueness in their answers and uniqueness in their preparation method, so that they will be having higher chances of success. So in that concept, being mindful and the concept of mindfulness becomes very much relevant for your UPSC journey as well. So what exactly is meant by mindfulness? So let's take an example before we go to the definition. So many of us, while having food, let it be lunch, dinner or breakfast, we feel that that's kind of waste of time. So let us utilize this time, especially if you are a student, you would like to utilize the time for watching any videos, educational videos related to your subjects that you are revising, or just getting a brief of what has happened in today's newspaper. Let's quickly cover it through videos. So when this is being done, this is what many activists or many people call it as multitasking. And multitasking has become a necessity these days due to many important commitments one individual would be having in a short span of time. So food is one activity, reading or consuming videos is the second activity here. So what happens is, according to many scientific experts, the brain would be working on both of them. Inability to give 100% to any of this will lead to half-hearted efforts in both the sides. So instead of this juggling between two different tasks is nothing but leading to stress, and when this is continued for a long period of time, it is nothing but what people call burnout. That is, you'll be tired very soon of doing so many tasks at a time that your brain demands some rest, and if that's not given, the person will usually fall sick, or the time to give rest to the body is something body takes itself. So this is what we call multitasking. So what is mindfulness here would be focusing on one task at a time. Okay, by consciously drawing your attention towards one particular task. Let's say if you are having food, you will be focusing completely on how the food is tasting, what is the texture of the food that you are consuming, how this food is going to help you in nourishing your body and your how it is strengthening your life system. So your focus should be on completely food, so that the brain will learn how to do one particular thing in a perfect manner. When you're watching a video related to newspapers or any other content, you should be completely physically present there and mentally focusing on it, so that your effectiveness in doing the work increases. So basically, mindfulness is about a practice where you are fully present and aware of your thoughts, emotions, surroundings, and actions, without judging without judging any other natural aspects of it. So there are four major features of mindfulness which would be very relevant for your ethics answer writing as well. The first one is awareness. Awareness about your thoughts, emotions, and surrounding. Once you're aware of it, you'll be able to handle and manage them better. The second one is about non-judgment, where you observe your feelings without labeling them as good or bad. So just observing one feelings will give us a lot of idea on how our thinking pattern is moving, and once that knowledge comes, we'll be able to handle them in a better way. So the third one is present moment, that is letting go distractions and concentrating on the present time. So any distractions that can be eradicated will help you focus better on a particular thing. Giving your 100% will make you more and more efficient in that particular task. The fourth one is deliberate action. So deliberate action is nothing but they are talking about drawing your attention back to the work that you are doing despite the other distractions that come in your way. So consciously, when you are putting your focus on a particular work or a piece of activity you're doing, the mind will be more calmer in performing it, rather than thinking about what more work is left and how do I do that in the future once this activity is done. So mindfulness comes with many added advantage of keeping a person's mind calm, so that the day and the work goes on better. So when we see its applications in our answers, it is very much relevant in GS paper 4, especially when we talk about emotional intelligence. So mindfulness, or when you are thoughtful about what you are exactly doing, it is nothing but you are self-aware, you are conscious, you are self-regulating. So you don't need an external agency to work on your emotions. So these are nothing but key components of emotional intelligence. So let's say a mindful administrator can remain calm under pressure and is a better decision maker than a person who is very much worried and thinking about the future more than what is happening in the present. So the second point or second application also would be stress management. So many of the experts tell that when our mind keeps juggling between multiple things that are to be done, we don't focus on one thing, the brain gets tired and generates stress hormones. So this definitely is not a sign, as physical mental stress adds a lot of physical issues as well. So the decision maker will not be in their best mind. So district magistrates, let's say, while dealing with a disaster, they can use mindfulness to prioritize tasks and not focus on what would be the outcome in the future time. So the next one would be ethical leadership. So even in the questions of ethical leadership, mindfulness teaches a person empathy. Mindfulness teaches compassion to a person, because we do some soul searching when the mindfulness is practiced. So these two are nothing but an essential quality of a leader, which makes decision making much better. And the other important repercussions would be conflict resolution. So if every individual is mindful of their activities, what its repercussions are going to be? Conflict resolution will be very easy, especially in India when there are multiple identities. So last one would be that mindfulness will draw your attention towards moral awareness. That is, it helps the mind or individuals to reflect their own values and align their actions with ethical principles. So this would be the relevance of this topic in GS paper 4. And when it comes to essay, let's say we get any essays related to work, life, balance. So this has been quite a point of discussion after one of the entrepreneurs spoke about 90-hour work week. So when we are discussing that, mindfulness would be very important when we are talking about excellence in our work area. So we can also talk about mindfulness in ethics in public administration. We can say it's also very relevant to inner discipline. So when we have seen that UPSC has a lot of questions related to philosophical aspects, mindfulness, without mentioning this, many of the philosophical notions like clear thinking, role of inner discipline, all these things would be very much relevant. So this would also be important for you as as a aspirant, because when you are covering one particular topic or when you are focusing on an idea, the focus should be so strong that you don't think of anything else. So it's very important, because in the multiple choice questions, especially the prelims that throw at you, and those 2 hours that are extremely important, there is an important need to be very mindful about every single question that comes to you, so that you give your best shot and put maximum efforts to get the plus 2 marks in that. So try to read some more about mindfulness. Like let's say Mahatma Gandhi has always been mindful when he was focusing on charaka, spinning and Swadeshi movement. We can also talk about many contemporary leaders like Satya Nadella, who has also told that being mindful or practicing mindfulness has helped him being a better decision maker and has also improved their work culture. So you can also quote Delhi government's happiness curriculum. So we have already discussed this in one of our previous episodes, happiness curriculum of Delhi. Even this curriculum has mindfulness as a topic being taught in the school, so that children who come out of these schools are emotionally intelligent and know how to deal with the stress of the life. So at the same time, civil servants who practice mindfulness give out the best outcome to the districts. So Mahatma Gandhi had once popular told, watch your thoughts, they become your actions. So watching one's thoughts and trying to control, regulate them as per the requirement of the time is what the Gandhiji was talking about. So try to use the answer, the concept of mindfulness based on the context of the question. So that's all for today's I Can episode. Meet you again with many more informative content. Thank you.